At Pluckers, every team's a winner. Every team's a winner. Every team's a winner.
This is Will Campbell with the Tigers. Louisiana National Bank is committing to making every interaction with its customers an experience that's more exceptional than any you've ever encountered. If you're looking for a teammate to help you achieve your financial dreams, come see one of the Louisiana National Bank's uncommon bankers. Equal housing lender. Member FDIC.
Why do billion-dollar insurance companies regularly delay and deny valid claims? Because that's how they got to be billion-dollar insurance companies. If you've been injured, I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday, brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Working towards the weekend. Got Jacob Beck and Kathy Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. I'm glad you're hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. 15 minutes, we'll talk to Luke Johnson about the Saints' new schedule. Joe Healy from D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team preview the final regular season weekend of SEC baseball. LSU's getting underway a little bit early. If you missed this earlier, they have moved game time up today to 4 o'clock, so 3 hours from right now. Going to try to beat the weather. Whether or not they can do that or not, I guess that remains to be seen, but they're going to try by playing at 4 o'clock. Tomorrow looks iffy as well. We'll see. I will say this before we get into LSU baseball. The SEC did change the rules, and although everyone is playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week, if you need to play on Sunday, you can, and Sunday here looks great. So LSU and Ole Miss are going to play 3 games this weekend. It's just a matter of when. They will try to start at 4 o'clock this afternoon. LSU basketball picked up a commitment today. David Eckert's going to join us 1 hour from right now at 2 o'clock. He covers the Ole Miss Rebels. We'll talk about this Mike Bianco baseball team with David Eckert at 2 o'clock. Chris Blair 15 minutes later, probably from Ally Box Stadium as he gets ready for the call of Game 1 between LSU and Ole Miss. Plus, LSU grabs a defensive tackle in the transfer portal. We will talk about that as well. So lots and lots to get to over the next 2 hours. Buckle up and let's ride. We'll start with the Ole Miss Rebels, who come in for a monster series for both teams. I was listening to the Highway to Hoover podcast with Joe Healy and Mark Etheridge earlier this week, and we'll talk to Joe coming up in 30 minutes, but he said this would be the series that he would watch if he could watch one. And that says a lot because Arkansas and Texas A&M are 2 of the best teams in the country, and they're playing in College Station this weekend. But there's a ton on the line for both of these baseball programs. For LSU, the defending national champions, you're trying to find a way in the NCAA tournament field. I think 3 gets you in. 2 maybe puts you in the conversation. If you're Ole Miss, 2 probably puts you in. 3 definitely does. And if you don't get in for the second year in a row, what do you do with your head coach? There are a lot of situations and scenarios at play here over the next 3 days in Baton Rouge. So let me tell you about this Ole Miss baseball team from a big picture perspective. They are 27-25 on the season. They're only 2 games over 500, but that's not really going to come into play for Ole Miss because in order to even put themselves on the bubble for the NCAA tournament and to be in the discussion, they're going to have to win enough games where being over 500 is not going to matter. Not necessarily the same case for Florida, whose RPI is a little bit better, but they're 27-25 overall and 11-16 in league plays. This is the wins that they've had in SEC play in terms of series. They beat South Carolina in the opening weekend. They beat Mississippi State a few weeks back. They beat Auburn 2 weeks ago, and they beat Texas A&M last week. That is 4 series win for the Rebels. They went to Tennessee, lost 2 out of 3. They were swept at Kentucky. They were swept at Arkansas, swept at Georgia, and lost a 2 out of 3 to Alabama in Oxford. So it has been up and down for Ole Miss, a little bit more up than in the middle of the SEC season where they lost 6 SEC games in a row. But they're coming off back-to-back series wins for the first time since 2022. Put that in perspective for the Ole Miss Rebels. In 2 years, they have not won back-to-back SEC series. They have dating back to the last 2 weeks. So How did they get it done against A&M last weekend? Well, it was kind of similar to what LSU did 2 weeks ago when they beat Texas A&M. They pitched it really well. And that started with Riley Maddox on Friday night, who we'll see today, Liam Doyle on Saturday, and Mason Nichols on Sunday. Those three guys against Texas A&M's lineup managed to throw 17 innings, only allowed 4 earned runs over 3 games, and had 19 strikeouts in those 17 innings. Their starting rotation did something last week that they haven't really done much of the year, if at all. And that's why they beat the best team that they had beaten to date in the Texas A&M Aggies. Riley Maddox is who you're going to see today on the mound from Ole Miss. He is a 6'1 junior, missed almost all of last year with an injury, but he's back in the saddle this year. He's right-handed. He's like I mentioned, he's 6'1". He's a good athlete, but it's not wow-you stuff. Against the SEC this year, his one-loss record is 1-5, which isn't that big a deal, but his ERA is 6.55, which is not good. Now, let me get into the nitty-gritty of these statistics, and it paints a real picture from Riley Maddox here. In 33 innings, he's given up 42 hits. That's way more hits than innings pitched. He's given up 35 runs in 33 innings, but only 24 of them are earned. He's given up 11 unearned runs. We know that Ole Miss has the worst fielding percentage in the Southeastern Conference, and Maddox is not a big strikeout guy. Only 21 strikeouts in 33 SEC innings. What's that tell you? He's getting the ball put in play. Ole Miss can't catch it. If you were listening to Chase Parham on After Further Review, he covers Ole Miss for RebelGrove.com, and he said, look, Riley Maddox has done a pretty decent job this year. He's a single ball pitcher. Unfortunately, he's playing for the worst defense in the league, so he gets ground balls, and they can't catch him. That's been a huge storyline with Riley Maddox this year. Opponents are hitting .294 against him, which is not good. He's going to count on ground balls, on double plays, and his defense helping him out, and they have not. He allows a ton of traffic on the base paths. Let me go back to his last 2 starts against Auburn and A&M, which have been good starts for him. The only 2 games he's pitched that LSU has won. that Ole Miss has won. But listen to the stat lines against Auburn and Texas A&M. Auburn doesn't hit a lot. Texas A&M does. Either way, listen to it. 11 innings, 14 hits, and 5 walks. That is 19 base runners in 11 innings. You're pushing 2 base runners an inning in those 2 starts. He's given up 7 runs. Only 3 of them are earned. So you think about that. He's allowed 19 base runners to reach in 11 innings and only 3 earned runs. 10 strikeouts in those 11 innings. It's just, there's a lot of traffic. And if you're LSU, you've got to find a way, when you get that traffic, to get the big swing. You got to pump one in the gap for a 2-run double. You got to hit one off the Intimidator for a 3-run homer. You've got to find the swing. A&M had a home run off of him last week. It was Jace Laviolette solo shot. You're going to get base runners against Riley Maddox. I know that Ben Hess had a 9 ERA in SEC play, and Sunday he just absolutely lit LSU on fire. But he throws 97 miles an hour with a good slider, and he's going to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Riley Maddox is not. I don't expect him to go 7 innings with 10 strikeouts and no runs. Like, if he does, LSU doesn't deserve to win anyway, and we'll just move on to tomorrow's show, and we'll write the obituary for the season. But he hasn't done that all year. You're going to get opportunities against Riley Maddox. It's just a matter of, okay, with runners on 1st and 2nd and 1 out in the 3rd inning, are you going to hit a 2-run double off the wall, or are you going to roll over to the shortstop who makes the play, and then you got a double play and you're out of the inning? It's an 88 to 92 mile an hour sinker and a little slider. It's very pedestrian stuff. In the era of spin rate and elevated fastball and snapdragon sliders and, velo, Maddox is not that. He wants to sink it and cut it. You've got to have the big swing against Riley Maddox. Now, I was listening to Chase Parham on Matt's show yesterday, and he said, look, there are not really a lot of guys Ole Miss trusts out of the bullpen either. So this is a situation where if you can get him out of the game, that's great. But I do know from watching Ole Miss a good bit this year that there is one arm in the bullpen that I am cautious of. And that's Connor Spencer, who has kind of become their closer. He was at Southeastern Louisiana last year, his transition to Ole Miss, and his numbers are not good. His ERA is 6.52 in the SEC. He's walked 6 guys in 9 2/3 innings. And none of that looks good. But just like Ben Hess last week, it's real stuff. It's power stuff. And he came in against Texas A&M last Friday, and it was good morning, good afternoon, good night. It was heaters. It was sliders. It was 96, 97. It's good stuff. There's a reason why his ERA in SEC games is 6.52, and his opponent batting average is only 211. Like, Connor Spencer is a tough guy to the bullpen, and if you fall behind, you might be in a little bit of trouble just based on the stuff. So that's kind of what you're looking at today from Ole Miss from a pitching perspective. They started league play through 7 weeks 1-6 on Fridays or game ones. 1-6. That's like LSU on Sundays. You know how that's gone. They had been bad. Now, the last 2 weeks, they beat Auburn and they beat Texas A&M. It took a 2-run rally in the 8th inning for them to beat Texas A&M, but they did. So now they're 3-6 in game ones, but LSU has been better than that. And Gage Jump of late has been much better than that. So you've got to hope that he's got his good stuff once again. Offensively for Ole Miss, not great. They have not been great this year. They don't have the Jacob Gonzalez, the Tim Elko, the guy who just strikes a ton of fear in you from a pitching perspective when you're dealing with these Ole Miss bats. Honestly, their best 2 hitters in league play have been guys that have some LSU ties. One is Luke Hill, who's from Baton Rouge. He plays on the infield for them. In league games, he's hitting .337. No homers, not any pop, but he's got on base and he's hit the ball well. And then Will Furness has had a little bit of pop, 4 home runs in league play, and he's hit .280. That's obviously Eddie's son, who hit the big home run off Paul Skeens last year up in Oxford. Those have been their best 2 guys in SEC play. The power comes from Andrew Fisher, who in league games has 11 home runs. His batting average is a little bit down, but his slugging percentage is up and his on base is okay. He's the guy who can really hurt you with one big swing. So they've got to deal with Andrew Fisher. And I'm cautious of one guy whose year has not been great, 265 in the league, and only gotten on base at a 325 clip, which is not good. That's Ethan Groff. He hit 400 at Tulane a couple of years ago, went to Ole Miss, and really hasn't been great. He's a real threat to steal. He runs very well. He's just a guy that I would like to not deal with on the base pass, so you need to handle him. It's an average Ole Miss offense. It's an average Ole Miss pitching staff, and that's why for 3 years in SEC play, they've been pretty much below average. They got white hot for 3 weeks 2 years ago and won a national championship. Prior to that, it was a 14-16 league team. LSU's got a ton of pressure to perform for 3 straight days, and that's a very difficult way to take the field. Every time you fall behind. And I would be shocked if LSU never falls behind for 3 games. I'd be shocked. So the first time you fall behind, you're looking up going, this could be it. And that's a really hard way to play. But in essence, they've kind of been playing that way for a month. And you can say maybe that got to them on Friday last week when Herring couldn't find his relief point and Alex Milazzo made the tough misstep. But it's on the road. This is going to be at home. It's not going to be in front of a great crowd today because you moved the game up 3 hours. But LSU's plenty good enough to win 1 game tonight and to win 1 game tomorrow and to win 1 game on Saturday. They're plenty good enough against this Ole Miss team. Just a matter of getting off to a good start. If you can get off to a good start, you got the pitching advantage today. With Jump and your bullpen fresh, you're the better team. You just are. Now, Saturday, it gets closer. And Sunday, I would lean Ole Miss. As the weekend progresses, I start to lean towards Ole Miss. But today, with your starter, your bullpen, your lineup in your building, you're better. We'll see what the Tigers can go out there and do. Our baseball breakdowns all season long brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. If you're looking to watch some LSU this weekend and you're not headed out to the box, Plucker's an awesome option. Head over to their 2 locations here in Baton Rouge, Nicholson just south of campus and Bluebonnet in front of the Mall of Louisiana. We'll step aside when we come back. Saints have a schedule. What does Luke Johnson think about it? That's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. The consultation is free. It does not cost you anything to go to OneBathAndClosets.com, request that consultation, and have David Duvall and his team come out and just look around. Whether it's your bathroom and you want a full-scale renovation and remodel or just a tub-to-shower conversion. Whether it's your closet, you need to customize that because the situation you've got right now ain't getting it. Either way, that consultation is free. And once you move on from there, they're going to walk you through the process every step of the way. And when it's done, I can promise you this. They're going to have done it right the first time, and they will leave the competition behind. None of this get to the next job, come back 3 weeks later because there's something faulty. That's not going to happen with One Bath and Closets. And the best news that I can tell you as a Hunt Palmer Show listener, $1,000 off your project at One Bath and Closets if you tell them that the Hunt Palmer Show sent you there. Go to the website and request that free consultation. It's One Bath and Closets at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a $1 million.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. The full NFL 2024 schedule is out. We're reacting to it, and we're previewing Game 1, LSU-Ole Miss from the box. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
We are brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on this Thursday, their official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints, who have a new schedule to look at. Someone will be there every step of the way is Luke Johnson. He's with us every single Thursday in the 1 o'clock hour. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
You excited to go to Green Bay on December 23rd?
I actually am.
Okay.
I'm sure that like a lot of people are like, oh, gross, Green Bay, December. As somebody who grew up in Wisconsin, like there is nothing better than a night game in Lambeau Field in December. That is going to be awesome. I don't care if I have to wear like 3 sweaters, 2 jackets. I'm like warm-blooded down here now. I'm like not used to the cold anymore. I don't care, man. It's going to be great.
Now, famously, our friend David Hellman was caught in the background of the Dez did or didn't catch it shot in a lot of pictures with his LSU beanie on, looking real uncomfortable. Are you prepared to make sure that doesn't happen for you?
Well, I'm not cool like Hellman, so like I don't get sideline passes during games. So there's no need, like, unless they they decide to just flash up to the press corps and show all the like weakling New Orleans writers up there in their parkas. I'm not going to be shown on the.
Nobody in the New Orleans press has a parka. There's no chance anybody down here has one of those.
Man, you've been to the Superdome. You know, sometimes in September it requires a parka in the Superdome press box.
That is true. So point well taken. All right, let's look at the Saints' schedule. I kind of gave my thoughts on it yesterday when you saw it come out from a football perspective, not a Luke Johnson travel schedule perspective. What'd you see?
I mean, man, that opening stretch of the season is really tough.
Yeah.
I think you could make a case they've got 3 of their hardest 5 games in their first 5 weeks of the season. There's a decent chance that they get off to a really slow start this year, just considering who they're playing. And I think this is a team that needs to get off to a fast start, you know? So, I mean, there's a couple different ways you can look at it. I mean, we just got done on our podcast a second ago. We were kind of picking the record game by game. I think I actually had them going 4-3 in that first 7-game stretch, which surprised me a little bit. But when you look at it, like, maybe it is a good time to play the Dallas Cowboys, who are breaking in a new defensive coordinator and have a bunch of new players and didn't replace a bunch of their good players. Maybe it's good to play them early in the season. Maybe it's good to play the Philadelphia Eagles in week 3 when they're 3 games into having 2 new coordinators there and a bunch of new players. Maybe it's good to play the Kansas City Chiefs early in the season as a team that has kind of in the last couple of years really found its stride late in the year. Like, maybe. But you're still playing the Cowboys, Eagles, and Chiefs in 3 out of your first 5 games. And that's just a really tough task for this Saints team specifically. So, yeah, I think if you're Dennis Allen, like, you need to win a couple of those games you're expected to lose, that a lot of people expect you to lose, because otherwise, you know, like, seasons have a way of snowballing, getting out of hand. And I just think that where they are as an organization and where Dennis Allen is specifically, and a lot of people within this organization, you can't get off to a really slow start. I mean, people are going to be calling for their heads.
The game in that stretch that you didn't mention is at Atlanta, and obviously that takes on a whole new look with a new coaching staff and a brand new quarterback. How do you feel about that?
I think in my my little prediction game by game, I called that a loss. Just because, you know, it's the first game of these kind of that new look Falcons and this rivalry, and you know, you could see just maybe some of the newness kind of factoring toward Atlanta in there, and you know, even though I don't think Mercedes-Benz Stadium is a very good home environment, they do have the home field edge there. I mean, I just think that's going to be a tough game. I think the Falcons are going to be much better this year, and that one in particular, I had them splitting the season series, but like, it's tough to have that kind of sandwiched in between those other tough games there too.
The Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift Chiefs defending champs, like, they could be primetime every week if the NFL wanted to. Are you surprised that the Saints were picked as a primetime partner for Kansas City on a Monday night?
Yeah, a little bit, honestly. Yeah, I was surprised the Saints got 3 primetime games generally, like the obvious one, sure. But like you said, I mean, the Packers and the Chiefs are 2 teams that could be on primetime every week.
Yeah.
Same goes for the Cowboys. And you know, it's really interesting that the Saints are kind of part of that discussion and that equation there. Because, you know, frankly, I mean, just like as somebody who pays a lot of attention to the Saints and a lot of attention to like national media coverage of the NFL, like, the Saints have not been relevant to the discussion in the NFL for 2.5 years now. So to see them getting a couple primetime slots against really good teams, it's a little bit surprising. But, you know, again, like, you could put the Chiefs against like the Raiders or like last year's Panthers, and it'd still be compelling TV for a lot of people. So, I think it's one benefit to having some really good teams on the schedule this year for the Saints is they do get a little bit more exposure nationally. And, if the Saints are, again, I know this is kind of taking on like a little bit of a doom and gloom, sort of attitude for me, but if the Saints exceed expectations, like they have a really good chance at showing people, like proving people that they deserve to be taken seriously this year, early on. So, there's your glass half full thing on there. We'll see if it actually plays out that way. I think their offense can be pretty good if Clint Kubiak is just half as successful as the offense he's trying to bring in, the Shanahan offense. They have a chance to be good, but they have to actually do it first. So we'll see.
I realize that the start looks really, really tough, and every NFL game is a difficult one. But if you look after the bye, which is a little later than I would have hoped for it, but if you look after the bye, I'll just read it to you and have your reaction. It's a home game against the Rams, who are okay. Then you're at the Giants, who at that point may have moved on from Daniel Jones, quite frankly. Then you're home against Washington with the rookie quarterback. At Green Bay is difficult, but then you host the Raiders, and you're at Tampa, which, I don't know if they're terrifying to anybody in the league. I mean, that is a manageable finish if you can keep your head above water for 11 weeks before the bye week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Rams can be really good, but like Stafford's up there. I think he's going to be 37 this year.
Yeah.
They don't have Aaron Donald anymore, and you're trusting a lot of young guys to play really, really important snaps for you. And if Stafford can't stay healthy over the course of the season, which I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. That's a very winnable game. Green Bay is what it is. It's going to be really tough to play there any time of the year, but especially in December. But Raiders, I feel like they might be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. Commanders, who knows what they're going to look like with Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels, but history says it's kind of tough to win for a rookie quarterback on a team that was really bad the year before. I said it on your show a lot last year, and I looked like an idiot every time I said it, but I just still feel like the Bucs have just fraud written all over them.
Yeah.
They put a lot of faith. They put a lot of faith in key players from a team that went 9-8 last year. It wouldn't surprise me if they just are terrible this year. Definitely an okay close to the season. It's not easy by any stretch, like you said, but there are some games in there that they should win. So if they can get through that early stretch of the season, that's very difficult. Again, big if, but if they can, it sets up for them to be at the very least relevant to the discussion late in the year again.
And you obviously mentioned earlier the one obvious primetime game that we haven't talked about. It's Sean Payton coming back to the Dome for a Thursday night game with the Broncos. What do you think the emotion's going to be like in the Dome from the fan base that night?
Man, that's a really tough one to say, because I think the way he left, even though I think Sean's retirement press conference was really gracious and everything like that, I feel like the sense I've gotten from Saints fans is it kind of felt like he quit on him. Which is weird because he was here for 15 years. He was here through ups and downs. But it's like Drew retired and he had one season of it and he's like, nah, I'm good. So yeah, I'm sure it's going to be overwhelmingly positive at the very outset. But I do think that there's going to be a segment of the fan base that's just screw that guy. Let's beat the brakes off him. Because I think the Broncos have a chance to be really bad this year. They have one difference maker on their entire roster, Patrick Surtain, and their quarterback situation is a mess. They don't have a lot of talent outside of the quarterback to help them out. It might be warm and fuzzy for 10 minutes in the Dome for Sean Payton, and then it's just getting brained again for the 12th time. So I don't know. That one feels like it could be just a really fun game for Saints fans, saying hey, thanks, Sean, and then thanks for bringing your bad team into town.
We'll all look forward to it. We appreciate it, Luke. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, man. See you.
He's Luke Johnson, covers the Saints for The Advocate. You can follow him on Twitter at @ByLukeJohnson for all your Saints updates. It's an interesting schedule. This is just for the Baton Rouge market, because I don't think anybody in New Orleans cares or even knows. But the schedule kind of looks to me like LSU's basketball schedule from this past year, where it's man, it's going to be a rough go there. and like you're going to have a losing streak at some point, and it's not going to be all warm and fuzzy for the first portion of that. But if you can find a way to keep your head above water, you can come out with a reasonable season. And LSU's basketball team did that. And then you translate it to the LSU baseball team this year, which had the exact same thing, and they did not keep their head above water, and it made them almost have to play perfect down the stretch, and it looks like they're going to come up one game short, barring something unforeseen this weekend. It's that same kind of feel, but we'll see. You never quite know with the NFL until you're in the middle of it. So that's a look at the black and gold schedule coming up this fall. All right, Joe Healy, SEC Extra on D1 Baseball with us every Thursday, breaking down the Southeastern Conference. We'll talk to him one more time in the regular season coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to a championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. That's right, up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you.
Charles Hennigrove joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. Bruce Marshall will be with us along with Troy Macker from Bet Rivers, and legendary coach Skip Bertman joins the show. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
So that Scotty Scheffler fella, he won the Players, and then he won the Masters, and then he won the week after that at Hilton Head, and then he went home and had a baby. He didn't have a baby. His wife had a baby, and they were like, well, is he going to come back? His father maybe missing some sleep. He's going to be okay. Well, on the first hole of the PGA Championship, he pumped it down the fairway and then knocked a second shot from like 160 in the hole for an eagle. So I think he's all right. I think he's getting enough sleep. They are underway in the first round up there at Valhalla in Louisville. Let's talk some baseball. Joe Healy, D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team, always with us on Thursdays. Good enough to spend some time with us today. Joe, how are you?
I'm good. Maybe Scotty Scheffler's just using his dad strength now that he has a baby. You know, that dad strength kicks in with every subsequent child. Perhaps that's what we're seeing there.
Well, now Scotty and I have the same amount of kids, and he seems to be stronger and better than me. So I'm not sure that it's working for me either. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But let's talk some baseball. Let's go back to last weekend for LSU. Just two massive missed opportunities on Friday and Sunday. Friday, you've got a lead with 2 outs and nobody on base, and you go walk, hit by pitch, swinging bunt, throwing error to lose. And then Sunday, you've got the tying run on third base with less than 2 outs. Strike out, and then a line shot right to the shortstop, get the leadoff runner on in the ninth, can't get him home, and you lose 2 out of 3 at Alabama. Your reaction to LSU's weekend in Tuscaloosa?
Missed opportunities was exactly the right way to put it. I also have thought since then that if LSU ends up not in a regional this season, which I think you'd have to put it a little less than 50-50 given what they have ahead of them, they're going to look back. I mean, there's a million losses you could nitpick at, but the Friday one against Alabama, I think, is going to be the loss people go back to just because of what you detailed, the way it ended there. I think the other thing is just that any idea that, okay, you win a series at Texas A&M, there were some positives there. I'm not trying to take away from that. The same thing with the Auburn series, but the idea that there's just like a switch flip going on, I think last weekend kind of maybe took those options off the table, because this is still a team that, can sometimes struggle to put games away, which has been an issue for a lot of the year.
Certainly has, and they put themselves very, very much behind the 8 ball going into this weekend. Let's talk about a couple other teams before we get to LSU and Ole Miss. What's your confidence level that Florida can stay above 500 for the next 6 or 7 days?
Not very high. I mean, given that they're going to go to Georgia and walk into kind of a buzzsaw situation there with the way that Georgia's swinging the bat, like I don't feel great about that. And I feel, kind of similar to what we just talked about with LSU. I mean, Florida, okay, you look at some positives, Liam Peterson pitching better, Pierce Coppola getting healthier and healthier as the weeks go by, and yet they have a game where the bullpen just can't stop the bleeding in the Friday game in that series, and then you have defensive miscues in the finale that cost them the game, and those have been 2 bugaboos for Florida all season long, is being able to stop the bleeding when opposing offenses get going and being able to play fundamental baseball. And so as much as Florida's shown little bits of improvement here and there, they're still kind of the same team that we thought they were. And so I don't have a lot of confidence they're going to be, over 500. This weekend I think they'll lose 2 or 3 probably. They go into Hoover 500, and at that point your path becomes really, really difficult, because it means you have to not only win the opener, but then you have to come out of Hoover over 500 to even be eligible.
Their RPI is 30. If they stay above 500, are they in?
I think if the RPI is where it is, yes. I think I know I've used this phrase with you before. It's still true, obviously, and that's you'll never go broke betting on the committee to lean on RPI. And so I think if their RPI is about 30, if they're able to be eligible for an at-large bid, I think that's going to be good enough. Mark Etheridge has kind of crunched the numbers on this, and basically if you're a top 30 RPI, even if you're a top 35 or 40 RPI, 9 times out of 10 you're getting in almost regardless of what else is going on. Now, we've had instances where SEC teams well under 500 have RPIs in that range, they don't get in, et cetera, et cetera. But 9 times out of 10, you're talking about a team that's getting in if they have an RPI there.
So let's talk about Vanderbilt, who sits at number 28, and they'll go to Kentucky this weekend. It feels like if you're LSU and you're an LSU fan, you need to pull against Florida and against Vanderbilt and see if Kentucky can sweep the doors this weekend. Are those the 2 most relevant SEC outcomes to LSU?
Yeah, I think so, because you want to put yourself in a better position relative to everyone else, because ultimately this is something, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I think we talked about a little bit last week, which is that, okay, we understand that 13 is generally understood as the regular season win total you need. Now there's some edge cases and caveats there, but even if you get to 13, the chances that we're going to have, let's say, 3-4 teams sitting on 13 going to Hoover, the chances are that the committee is going to take all of those teams is extremely low.
Yeah.
And so that's just math, right? Because there's only so many teams that are going to get in. So you've got to improve your position relative to everybody else in the league, not just get to a set number. So there are 2 steps to that thing. And so step 1 for LSU, of course, is a result this weekend, but step 2 is also getting some help around the league to make it look a little better relative to others.
Let's talk about others before we get to LSU and Ole Miss, because we're talking tournament and selection. And I realize this is going to be a longer-winded question, but I do want your thoughts on it, and I want to lay the foundation properly. Like right now, D1 Baseball and the folks over there have got Ole Miss and LSU out of the field. And you've got like Utah in. And I look at this and I understand what the committee is doing, and I have been very blunt saying if LSU wins 12 league games, I'm not going to cry one tear when they get left out, even though I think their metrics are better, because you at LSU need to win more than 12 league games. But like Utah has an RPI of 74. They're 2-4 against quad 1. Their strength of schedule is 124th. They've played 3 teams in the pack that are better than them, and they've lost all 3 series. But their conference record's better than LSU because they beat Cal and Arizona State and UCLA, who's under 500. Like, is that the right thing to do?
Boy, well, yeah, that is doesn't that get right down to the crux of what's difficult about the selection process, right? I mean, you're apples and oranges all over the place. I mean, it's more like apples to jackhammers, in terms of the different schedules. And by the way, going to 16 in the SEC and the Big 12 expanding again is only going to make that more complicated, by the way, just because we're going to have to really unbalanced schedules, and then we're going to have more teams compacted into a smaller group of leagues. What I generally tell people is, the selection process is an art and not a science. And so it's not just best, it's also most deserving. And also, let's never forget that the committee is made up of humans. This is not the BCS. And so emotion can play a role. Like, I'm not suggesting this will necessarily happen, but hey, we're in the last year of Coastal Carolina coach Gary Gilmore being at the helm. If they're anywhere close, we'll really be surprised if they push them in. Who you have on the committee helps. I think one of the reasons, and I listen to the D1 Baseball Nerdcast because I'm not part of that process for us, so I listen to it to kind of make sure I understand the arguments they're making. I think a large part of that is Mark Harlan, Utah's AD, is on the committee. And so it is a political process as well. Now, I don't think that should be part of it, but I don't know how we get around it, right, when we deal with humans. I can understand, and I would not have had Utah in, by the way, just so I get that out of the way. I did not agree with that choice. However, I understand where they're coming from in putting that team in. I don't think Utah is going to get in unless something fundamentally changes, but I understand how they got there. So that's also a long-winded answer to a long-winded question that I'm not even sure I totally answered. But what I just say is it's a messy process. I think it's only going to get messier until we have more metrics to work from. One of the issues that I've always had with the selection process, I don't really know anybody who likes RPI, but maybe there's somebody out there, but whether you like or hate RPI, we should not be using one metric to drive so much of this. Basketball has, and baseball has KPI now, great. Basketball has, KPI and Ken Palm and Bart Torvik and I don't know if Evan
the net,
has an
the
official
NET.
one. The net, yes, the net, exactly. That's their revamped RPI. So you can toss out outliers. And maybe if we had 5 metrics, it would say, hey, Utah is closer to 45 than they are to 70. The RPI just doesn't get it, right? So we would have a better idea, but we don't. We're just using this one metric and assuming that it encapsulates most of what we need to know about a team, and that's, to me, just absurd.
Yeah, and I mean, I look at Illinois, too, who's leading the Big Ten, but their RPI is 57. They're 4-10 against quad 1. And, oh, by the way, they got one taste of what it's like down here in the Southeast, and Tennessee swept them 38-7 over 3 days. So it comes down to like LSU did not win a game in Knoxville and did not win a game in Fayetteville, and that's what's going to keep them out. And I'm not going to, again, shed one tear or blame the committee for it. I'm going to blame LSU, but I also look at it and go, if we're trying to get the teams in there that should be competing in this thing, I think we need to put a lot of SEC teams in like they do in softball. But that's not the reality, and that's not what I expect on Memorial Day.
Well, and also, there's a bigger picture thing here, of how much do we think about the health of the sport overall? I know it can't be a sole purpose of it, but, is it good for college baseball if we shoved 13 or 14 teams into the field, because above all else, I'm a college baseball fan and I want college baseball to be healthy. And I make a living covering SEC baseball, but at the same time, I can understand how it might not be healthy for the sport if we just tell, hey, Utah, I know you're having the best season you've had in, 25 years or whatever, but we're just going to go with team 13 in the SEC. Good luck next year. Like, that might be the right thing to do, but I don't think it would be good for the health of college baseball, and I think that's a consideration as well.
I don't disagree. While it's going to be bad for my favorite team on planet Earth, the LSU baseball team, I can't say that I totally disagree. It's a bummer that the West feels like it's kind of irrelevant as we sit here in the middle of May. Briefly, let's get to LSU and Ole Miss. What do we know about this Ole Miss team? Why are they playing better over the last couple of weeks?
Their pitchers have magically turned into different pitchers, which sounds kind of flippant, but kind of is the truth. Riley Maddox gave his best start of the year last week when you consider the opponent and the spot. Same thing with Liam Doyle. Mason Nichols pitched well enough to win in his start. They didn't, but he pitched well enough to get them there. Wes Mendez, a freshman arm who had done pretty much nothing the first 10, 12 weeks of the year, has come on strong. Connor Spencer has been better. Their closer from Selah. They just seem to have turned a corner on the mound, and I'll be interested to see this weekend if that's real or if that's just, hey, A&M's a team right now that's kind of going through it. Braden Montgomery's in a big slump. Laviolette's had a slump recently. Grahovic, same thing. So did they just catch A&M at a good time, or is this a different pitching staff? I truly don't know the answer. I'm excited to find out.
We'll talk to you next week when you're in Hoover. Thanks, Joe.
All right, Hunt. See you, buddy.
He's Joe Healy, SEC Extra, part of D1 Baseball. I got some thoughts that I want to expound on, but I'll probably do that maybe on tomorrow's show, depending on how things go. It's a complicated deal with some of these teams that I think are significantly worse than LSU and have what I believe to be worse metrics. But again, do you just want to shut the door to everybody who's not in the Southeast and tell them, thanks for fielding the team, go home and we'll see you in February? I'm not sure, but it's, again, LSU's fault for getting swept a couple times and not finding a way to get to 13 or 14 league wins. You don't do that, you don't really necessarily deserve the benefit of the doubt. So we appreciate Joe for jumping aboard. You can catch he and Mark's stuff at Highway to Hoover as well, on anywhere you get your podcast. When we come back, LSU basketball got a big commitment literally today for next year's basketball team. I'll tell you who it is and what I think about it coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is the website. Check them out on Instagram as well, AVSS_BR. There are great videos there that can show you some of the capabilities that AVSS has, whether it's audio in-home, whether it's video with your surround sound and home entertainment system, or it's security. We were thankful that they came out and put our security system in when we moved, and we absolutely love it. We've got cameras on the app that we can toggle through and look at 24 hours a day. There are playbacks. We can be notified if anybody gets remotely close to the door, whether it's some sort of animal or it's a human. We're notified of that. And all the picture is so high quality. You don't have to worry about cloud storage fees when you go through Audio Video Security Solutions. Nothing more important than the safety and security of your home and your family. Got to take that very, very seriously, and they certainly do at Audio Video Security Solutions, and we've been thrilled with the work on our video surveillance system there at our home. You should give them a shot. It's Audio Video Security Solutions. Give Mitchell Fisher a call. He's the owner of the company, and this is his cell phone number, 225-439-7920. Again, in the 225 area code, it's 439-7920. It's Audio Video Security Solutions at avssla.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. The full NFL 2024 schedule is out. We're reacting to it, and we're previewing Game 1, LSU-Ole Miss from the box. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Finishing up hour number 1 here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Get on by Rouse's for your weekend grocery shopping. Download the Rouse's app. You don't even have to go in the store. Do your shopping right there at the top of your finger, and your personal shopper will go in there, do your shopping, hand it right to you in the pickup line at your designated time. Makes grocery shopping so easy, and they got fantastic options in there at Rouse's. No matter where you are, from the southwest portion of Louisiana down to Orange Beach, Alabama, they got you covered here at Rouse's. LSU basketball pretty much solidified its 2024-25 roster today with a commitment from 7-foot center Noah Boyd. Now, Noah Boyd spent 2 years at McCook Community College in Nebraska. He did not play very much this past year because he got hurt early in the season, played a lot as a freshman. I love the fact that they got a 7-footer who's active and can block some shots and rebound. That's great. I love the fact that he's a guy that they're going to take as a preferred walk-on because they're out of scholarships because of the sanctions, and they'll handle that any which way. I love the fact that Baylor had his commitment at one point, which means a lot. I trust that program in terms of their evaluation, recruiting, and development. They've been fantastic for better than a decade. This makes a ton of sense for this roster because it's the one thing that I think you were missing. You look at Jalen Reed, I don't think he's a defensive presence, rebounder, shot blocker. Damian Collins hasn't shown he can be productive at the SEC level and was out all last year and doesn't weigh very much, quite frankly. I don't count on Robert Miller as a freshman to go out there and be an enforcer defensively. Noah Boyd theoretically could be that guy because that's his profile as a player. However, he's coming from community college. He's only played organized basketball for like 3 or 4 years. He's incredibly raw, and I just don't know if he's ready to help this fall, next spring. It seems like a bit of a reach. I think there's a good chance he's a good player at that profile and position moving forward for a couple more years at the college level. I just don't know if he's ready. I'm curious what Matt McMahon says, if there's a press release or we can get him on the show here sometime this summer about Boyd. It's the exact profile this team needed, but I'm not ready to say that a player who played at community college for a year and is a really raw player is ready to jump in there into the SEC with some guys that are going to go play in the NBA and be ready to help immediately. He's certainly not a starting caliber player. Is he a guy that can come in if there's some foul trouble or you need a little bit of defensive help? We'll see. That just kind of remains to be seen. I think this is a long-term play, a development play, which Matt McMahon wants. He wants younger players that he can develop, and then he's going to add a couple older players on the top of every single team. I watched some tape on him. True back to the basket guy. Not a great athlete, but at 7 feet, you don't have to be a great athlete, but a good enough athlete and a guy who scored okay around the rim against community college players. So I like this addition for LSU because there aren't a lot of 7-footers out there, and this is a guy that Baylor wanted. I just don't know if Thanksgiving of this year he's going to be an impactful player. That very much remains to be seen. But when I saw it, I was excited. Noah Boyd is the final member, I believe, of this LSU basketball roster moving forward, and I think it's a team that's got a chance to be middle of the pack in the SEC. So wanted to pass that along as we wrap things up here in hour number 1. In our first hour here on our Thursday edition, we talked about the Ole Miss Rebels baseball squad. I broke them down at the top of the show. That breakdown brought to you by Pluckers. Luke Johnson, always with us at 1:15 on Thursdays, talking about the Saints schedule. He did so. You can find that on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. That's our Saints YouTube channel. Joe Healy from D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team talking about the selection committee process as well as this weekend in the SEC. He was with us in the previous segment. We're going to take a time out for SportsCenter. Very much excited to come back and get to LSU and Ole Miss, who, by the way, if you just missed this, are going to be playing in 2 hours and 5 minutes. They moved game time up to 4 o'clock. Going to try to beat that weather that's rolling into the entire state of Louisiana here over the next 10, 12, 24 hours. So we'll talk with David Eckert, who covers the Ole Miss Rebels after SportsCenter. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, with us at 2:15. LSU did pick up a transfer portal defensive tackle, so we'll talk about that as well. Don't go anywhere. The Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us. and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The reigning NBA champion Nuggets can advance to the Western Conference Finals with a win tonight in Game 6 in Minneapolis. After losing the first 2 games at home, the Nuggets have won 3 straight. Timberwolves coach Chris Finch.
It comes down to Game 6 at home, and that's exactly where we want to be. A lot of series left. Got to force it into a Game 7, but most importantly, we got to regroup, get guys focused in on what we need to do, and they've been good at that all season, so they'll be ready.
Chris Finch. Coverage for that one starts at 8 Eastern on ESPN Radio and TV. First round of the PGA Championship at Valhalla today. Xander Schauffele holds the lead at 9 under after a major championship record-tying 62. Scotty Scheffler, in his first tournament after the birth of his first child, holes out from 169 yards at the first hole for an eagle. First round coverage right now on ESPN and ESPN+. The Patriots signed center David Andrews to a 1-year contract extension. His deal now runs through the 2025 season.
Feeling great starts with a great shave, and great shaves start with Barbasol Shaving Cream. That's Barbasol Shaving Cream, an American classic for over 100 years. Close Shave America, Close Shave Barbasol.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We are working towards the weekend and working towards Game 1. LSU and Ole Miss 2 hours from right now from the box. Game time moved up to 4 o'clock, a big one for both teams. David Ecker covers Ole Miss for the Clarion Ledger and joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. David, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. Big picture, how big is this weekend for Ole Miss's baseball program?
Yeah, potentially transformative. Obviously, probably have to take 2 or 3 to get into a regional. If they don't, that's 2 years in a row without one, and that starts to become time where maybe some of the decision makers start thinking about making those decisions, right? So obviously huge for Mike Bianco this weekend, and it feels kind of like a play-in, right? Big for both teams.
I think so. It's the mother of all asterisks because they won the title 2 years ago, but that year they were 14-16 in the league, and they followed that up with 2 years where they're under 500 in the league as well. Is there any reason why an Ole Miss baseball program that was so rock solid for 15 years has not been able to churn through an SEC schedule in 3 years?
Yeah, it's confounding, right? And they've expected to be good, which I think is jarring because you have years, right, where you identify that year as, okay, this is going to be a down season. And that was not the thought before, the national title year, which, as you mentioned, they weren't great in the SEC. It certainly was not the thought last year. And they felt good about this team coming in too. So, they have not, in my opinion, developed the right kind of elite pitching that you need to be consistent in the SEC. You look at the rotation this year and last year, and they've had injuries, right? But it's just not competitive at the top level. Although this year they've been better recently, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, that to me is the biggest factor. It's they don't have the elite top end starting pitching that you need to be in the top half of the SEC.
They've won a couple of series and they've pitched it a little bit better. Is that the biggest change as to why they've won a couple of series, including a big one last week against Texas A&M?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. They've gotten some really good in individual performances at the plate in both of those series. Andrew Fisher against Auburn 2 weeks ago, Jackson Ross, Luke Hill last week against Texas A&M. They brought in 4 offensive transfers that they were really excited about. That being Fisher, Ross, Hill, and Trayson Hughes. And kind of at the halfway point of the season, where the season's looking lost, you would have said they went maybe 2 for 4 on those transfers. Fisher's always been a stud. Ross, kind of didn't do great at the beginning of SEC play, and Luke Hill has really not been good until 5 weeks ago, and he's been great since. So that to me is kind of another trend that we're seeing is the guys who they brought in to be studs have started to be studs, and they're playing better because of it.
Tell me about Riley Maddox, who will get the ball for Ole Miss today.
Yeah, he's not going to blow you away with the radar gun. He was really good against Texas A&M. He added a new pitch. He's throwing a sweeper now. So we'll see if that translates. I don't know. When you add a new pitch to the mix, right, you question, is it, okay, was Texas A&M not prepared for this and that's why it's so successful, or is it just a difference-making pitch? So I guess we'll kind of see what happens today with that. But, yeah, he's a guy that's going to locate. He's going to throw a cutter. He's not going to blow you away with the radar gun. He's been okay for them this season. In a good SEC rotation, he's probably not a Friday night guy. If just being straight up with that. But his numbers, I think, are worse than they should be based on some defensive stuff that's happened behind him. He's a pretty good SEC arm. So we'll see how that new pitch translates. Obviously, not an easy place to pitch at the box. So.
You say that if you had a really good SEC rotation, potentially Riley Maddox is not at the front of it, but could Liam Doyle be at the front of it?
I think he could. I think Liam Doyle is their best arm by a considerable margin. He had a little bit of a slip up, kind of around, I don't know, weeks 3 and 4 in SEC play. He's been awesome since. Elite fastball. It's just really good. He also throws a cutter. He's going to throw the ball up in the zone, really challenge guys, and it works. And to me, he's kind of got that like ace mentality, right? You can kind of see it with the way he acts. But yeah, I think looking at the pitching matchups for this series, both of the aces of these staffs are going to go on Friday.
Let's talk about the Ole Miss bullpen. I know that Connor Spencer has kind of taken over as the closer. He spent a year at Southeastern Louisiana last year, has some big stuff, but LSU's kind of searching for guys outside of Griffin Herring to get outs for them. Is Mike Bianco kind of in the same boat once the starters come out of the game?
Yeah, I think Ole Miss has had so many injuries. They've had so many guys just not pan out at all that now they've kind of got this situation where they're thin, So Josh Mallett is a good arm out of the bullpen. You mentioned Connor Spencer; he's going to close games. Really good stuff. Big arm. They had been going with Austin Simmons, who's been really good for them. Dual sport athlete. He's also a quarterback, but he's got a UCL injury. So yeah, they're trying to find it. They've tried JT Quinn, who was their original Friday night starter out of the bullpen, and that hasn't really worked. So it's going to be, they like Mason Morris as well. So it's going to be Mallett, Morris, and Spencer, and the rest of it is just kind of trying somebody that you hope works. True freshman lefty Wes Mendez has been really good lately. I should mention him as well. So those are the four guys, and beyond that, it's a coin flip.
Is the Ole Miss fan base tuned into this series for baseball, or are they on to Lane Kiffin's fall team full of transfers and a stud quarterback?
I think they are. I think I think the A&M series brought them back. They were in just reading comments, my emails, what people are saying, like just totally done 4 weeks ago. But it's kind of like the scene. Just when I thought I was out, you bring me back in, type of thing. So,
well, they'll be back in 2 hours. LSU and Ole Miss coming at you, game one from the box. David Eckert covers the Rebels for the Clarion Ladder, joining us here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. David, thanks for your time. Have a great weekend.
Appreciate it. You too.
Looking forward to game one with LSU and Ole Miss. Chris Blair will be on the call for game one of LSU and Ole Miss, and he will join us from the box coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit us at LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this spring for all the hoops and hockey playoff action. We've got the biggest screens, the best food and drink, plus giving away pin cash bonuses and prizes to Pin Play Rewards members. Not a member? Join today by downloading and registering for the Pin Play app from the App Store. Unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in pin cash. All this and more make LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino your spring sports viewing headquarters. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 988.
Henniger, join me and Jimmy Ott for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. Bruce Marshall will be with us along with Troy Macker from Bet Rivers, and legendary coach Skip Bertman joins the show. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live After 5 is back this spring. Clock Out and Rock Out with us Fridays for the next few weeks through May 24th in downtown Baton Rouge for the free concert series from 5 to 8 p.m. Join us for another season filled with incredible music, delicious food, talented artists, and a lively second line parade. This Friday, come out to see the Bucktown All-Stars for Live After 5.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Looking at my Twitter feed, Wilson Alexander from The Advocate says, news from Scott Rabelais. LSU is working on scheduling a game in Ireland. Still in the early stages. The date and opponent have not been set yet. Chris Blair, of course, is the voice of the Tigers. Chris, you want to go to Ireland to call a game?
Not really, but I'll go. Not on my list. Hey, by the way, I got to tell you, Hunt, because they moved the game up, I actually got to run. I got Coach Jay Johnson is waiting for me.
All good. So, I got plenty of material. Have a great call.
All right, man.
He's Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, and he came on, and we did one answer, and now he's going to talk to Jay Johnson for the pregame show, and that is okay.
Why do you think you didn't want to go to Ireland?
It's a long way away. It's not like going to Starkville.
It is, but Ireland, I mean, it's a pretty, I've heard it's a pretty neat place to travel to.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, if I'm going to go to Ireland, I'm probably not going to watch LSU play football. I'm going to go play golf.
That's true.
That's what's going to happen if I'm going to Ireland. And, Chris says he's, not super fired up about that. So it is what it is. We'll see. There's no details on this. Scott Rabelais is reporting to it. And I think there's a story up at theadvocate.com if you want to read more about scheduling your trip to Ireland. But it's a long way away. And so we'll see what comes of that. Let's shift gears and talk some LSU football here. And we'll get to LSU and Ole Miss coming up in the next segment. Because LSU did get a transfer portal commitment today. And it's one that we were hoping for, expecting maybe, but JVR Suggs is the most recent add to the LSU football program, the defensive lineman from Grand Valley State. Look, I've talked in depth about this add to the LSU room. I have no idea if he can play at this level or not. There are plenty of examples of guys that have gone from that level up that can. There are plenty of examples of guys that have gone from that level up that cannot. I am not in the business of telling you who can and cannot play. I am telling you that LSU has 3 scholarships left to offer, and I'm fine if they add one that they offer one to a defensive tackle. He may be a little bit undersized, depending on where you read. Is he 260? Is he 280? Maybe so. Was he wildly productive at Grand Valley State? I wouldn't suggest he was wildly productive. He was a nice player against a bunch of schools that I've never heard of. All this stuff is stuff that we've rehashed for weeks now on this show, but he's an addition to the room. And here's the deal with LSU, a defensive tackle. It is not that LSU doesn't have any defensive tackles. That's not the case. In fact, Beck, if I were to ask you, how many scholarship defensive tackles does LSU have, what would your answer have been prior to me saying that?
I would have said probably 5.
Okay. So they have far more than that. They've got Kimo Macanioli. They've got Jacobian Guillory, Jalen Lee. Then you've got, from this class, Bro, Johnson, McKinley. You've brought in Gio Paez. You've got Hickey that has come in as a preferred walk-on. You've got Sean Washington that you brought in this class. That's 9 right there.
That's a lot.
I haven't even mentioned Parrish Shand, who could potentially kick down and play. You're somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 or 10 defensive tackles on this roster. It's just the fact that I've never seen any of these guys line up against Auburn, rip through the defensive line, and make a play. None.
You've gotten 9, but you've got 4 probably that you maybe trust actually to.
You don't
play
have
snaps.
that many that I would trust right now. Kima Maknioli's coming over from offense. Jalen Lee's been a backup for 3 years in the league. Sean Washington was in junior college last year. I just mentioned the 4 freshmen. Gio Paez was an end at Wisconsin last year. Paris Shand was an end at Arizona and LSU. It's not a depth problem. There's plenty of humans to play defensive tackle. I don't know if any of them can do it at the level required to play at LSU. I'm confident that this group would go out there and look completely normal in Vanderbilt Commodore uniforms. You've got enough talent to go out there and look like Vanderbilt. Do you have enough talent to go out there and look like LSU? It's an if. I don't know. I hope Dominic McKinley's ready to play as a freshman. We've seen some guys go out there. Christian Locketor was forced into action and held his own okay.
Mason Smith did it.
Mason Smith went out there a little bit and played. Mekhi Wingo, as a freshman at Missouri, was all freshman SEC. You just never really know. So again, as you bring JVR Suggs into the program, it's worth a try. He's got 2 years of eligibility, and I would suggest there's probably a better than 50% chance that he's not capable of being a championship-level defender at LSU. Not a shot at him. I think that's the case for most of the guys in this room. But you've got a guy on your staff in Bo Davis that you feel like is one of the best developers of defensive linemen in the country. And he's going to have to find a way to get through 85, 90 snaps a game with this group. Maybe it's a little less than that with the rule change. I think it's probably closer to 80. But I'd be stunned if you had a first-team all-league player at defensive tackle. Stunned. But maybe you've got enough to hold your own. Maybe Jacobian Guillory in his 5th year becomes a strong player. Maybe Sean Washington, with some seasoning, coaching, and the resources that you've got in SEC school in the spring, summer, into the fall, develops into a strong player. Maybe Gio Paez, who's an old player, comes in and he's capable of helping. Maybe Paris Shand, with the added weight that you're going to put on him, can be a second-level interior player. And maybe Dominic McKinley is ready to help you out as a freshman for 10 or 11 snaps a game. And if that's the case and they can hold their own in front of Perkins and Penn and Weeks and those guys, maybe you've got enough up front to be a functional defense. You're not trying to field a Les Miles 2011 defense that's got to suffocate people. That is not what this sport is anymore, and LSU should have enough offense to offset your shortcomings. You just have to be functional. You just have to make some plays, get into some third downs, create some holding calls, and get some stops and hold teams to 21, 24 points. Back in the Les days, you're trying to hold them to 13 and ground and pound, and we're not doing that anymore. And I think a lot of times we've got in our head what an LSU unit should look like, whether it's a pitching staff or a defensive line or a wide receiving core or whatever, because we've been watching this thing for 20 years or 30 years or 50 years, and this is what it should look like. And if you're thinking about LSU defenses from 2003 through 2011, 12, well, it's probably not going to be to that standard. I'd be shocked if it was. But can they put up a fight? And again, it's not that you don't have enough guys and you're one injury away from being toast. I think that's what some people may think when they think about defensive tackle. You've got like 9 or 10 guys, but a lot of them are young or inexperienced or from a different level of football, and we just don't know. And that's the task that Bo Davis has in front of him. You've got clay worth of 9 or 10 guys. What can you mold? And if you can get better secondary play and high-level linebacker play, and your defensive line is just not some massive liability, I think they can be okay. And again, just like you can adjust your expectations on what an SEC and an LSU defense looks like. You also are in the process going from 2023 to 2024 and adjusting what your record has to be when Thanksgiving rolls around. No longer do you have to go 12-0. No longer do you have to beat Alabama and go 11-1. Those were the requirements to reach postseason entering this year. They are no longer. You don't have to beat Alabama now. Look at the teams that reached their goals here at LSU in the last 15 years. 07 beat Bama. 11 beat Bama. 19 beat Bama. 22 beat Bama. Those teams that got to Atlanta had to beat Alabama. You don't have to do that anymore. I'd like it if you did. It would help if you did. But I'm looking at 10-2. And you were one play from that last year. One catch in the end zone against Ole Miss from 10-2, which would have been good enough to get you in the playoff. And that was with no defense. Now, on the other side, you had the Heisman Trophy winner and 2 first-round wide receivers, and I get that. But it's a little different game now in terms of expectations with what your defense has to be from an output perspective and how many games you have to win. Can you marry that together and get into the playoff? Right now, as we sit here in May, I would not pick LSU to go to the playoff. But I would give them a chance. And I think today was a help. How big a help? I don't know. But you added a possibility into that 9-man defensive tackle rotation that might work. And you're just looking for options here so that 2 of them or 3 of them or 4 of them click. It's not a perfect situation, but it's not a 5-alarm grease fire. It's just not real reassuring. So LSU gets a commitment from JVR Suggs at defensive tackle out of the transfer portal. Still got a couple of scholarships left, and they're going to continue to look to add. Is it at Louisville with the safety and defensive end that are coming in this week? We'll just have to see. And if you want your LSU football coverage, you can check it out on YouTube at Hunt on LSU. It's where all of our LSU football content lies. All right, when we come back, I'll get you ready one final time for LSU and Ole Miss. They are 95 minutes away from first pitch out at the box. I'll get you ready coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Make sure the power doesn't go out. We had that nasty storm a couple of nights ago. There's another one that's barreling through this weekend, and you obviously know that storm season is around the corner. Boudreaux's Electric can help you get that Generac home standby generator installed at your home, so you've got the peace of mind of knowing that if the power goes out in your hood, doesn't matter because you're going to be fired up with that Generac generator. They're a certified Generac dealer, a premier Generac dealer. Every single Generac home standby generator comes with a 7 or 10-year warranty based on the kind of generator that you purchase. All of them are going to be installed by a full-time Boudreaux's Electric professional who's going to do it with the finest in copper and wiring and tubing and do most of that installation underground so that that generator that's powering your home when the power goes out isn't an eyesore in your home where you take a lot of pride, I should say. Boudreaux's Electric. Got the location down there in Napoleonville. Also one in Gonzales coming very, very soon. Give them a call. It's 985-397-1562. 985-397-1562. That is Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net. Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. The full NFL 2024 schedule is out. We're reacting to it, and we're previewing Game 1, LSU-Ole Miss from the box. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Update from Valhalla up in Louisville, Kentucky. Xander Schauffele with the lowest round in major championship history, tying a host of people, including himself, shooting a 62. He is 9 under atop the field. Tony Finau is done at 6 under, so is Sahith Theegala. Rory McIlroy shot 66 today. He is one back of those two at 5 under, joined there by Robert McIntyre, McNeese State Cowboy. I never heard of Ben Coles, but he shot 4 under today. So did Brooks Koepka. Adam Hadwin at 3 under, Cameron Smith at 3 under, Victor Hovland at 3 under, Max Homa at 3 under, Bryson DeChambeau at 3 under, Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth in a group at 2 under with Scotty Scheffler, who's only played 3 holes. If you missed this, on the first hole of his afternoon, Scotty Scheffler drove it in the fairway and then dunked it from 165 yards out for an eagle 2 to start his PGA Championship. He is pretty good. LSU and Ole Miss, about 90 minutes from right now, out at the box. Get you ready for it here for Game 1. Ole Miss's lineup is out. Ethan Leger, who has been there for a few years, is not in the lineup for Mike Bianca today. He's been dealing with a little bit of an injury. I don't know what the injury is, but he didn't play a lot last weekend and is not out there this weekend. But the rest of the lineup remains as we would expect it. But I've talked about Ole Miss. We interviewed David Eckert about Ole Miss. You know that Riley Maddox is a sinker-balling right-hander that LSU's going to see today. And I gave you my real key to the game back at the top of the show about 90 minutes ago. You're going to have guys on base against Riley Maddox. It just is what it is. He's a sinker baller, slider, sweeper, low 90s, right at 90 miles an hour, and he gives up traffic in every outing that he has. The question is, are you going to roll into double plays and strand those guys, or are you going to get the big hits? And it's come down to one weekend for LSU baseball. If you don't take care of your business this weekend with at least 2, you're toast unless you win the whole thing next week. And I'm just not prepared to tell you that a team that has not won a full weekend in 11 weeks is going to go to Hoover and start beating Alabama and Tennessee and Arkansas and A&M and South Carolina and Georgia with that pitching staff. Like, that's just not going to happen. So this is the week that matters. This is the weekend that matters. And as I said at the top of the show, if you're looking at this Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, LSU's got a starting pitching edge today. Gage Jump is better than Riley Maddox. Tomorrow, you've got two guys who strike out a ton of hitters and are very good. You've got Liam Doyle and Luke Holman, and I think that's right about what and what. And then on Sunday, I think the pitching advantage shifts to Ole Miss because at least they know what they're doing, okay? You need to get out and win this game. And to do that, you're going to have to score some runs. Ole Miss is swinging the bats a little bit better. The weather has warmed up. I know that weather is coming in from the north, so that may cause the wind to blow in hard from left field. I don't know. I haven't been out there. I'm locked in a cave here, and I was going to ask Chris Blair about it in the last segment, but he had to run and interview Coach Johnson. But they're gonna hit the ball a little bit against all your guys. You're going to have to keep up. LSU is every bit as good as Ole Miss, almost across the board. And there's a reason that Ole Miss was in the position that they were 3 weeks ago. There's a reason that LSU is in the same position they were in 3 weeks ago. They weren't very good in the beginning of the season either. But the SEC is going to jumble itself here over the next 3 days. And it's going to be Florida, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, and LSU. And the fact of the matter is that right now, LSU is in the worst spot. From an RPI perspective, from a quad one wins perspective, you're in the worst spot. You've got to differentiate yourself this weekend. And to me, there are three possibilities that help LSU with that. One, you sweep Ole Miss. That knocks Ole Miss completely out at 11 wins. And you're overtaking them. That's one. Two, Florida needs to lose 2 out of 3, at least, at Georgia. Now, Georgia has become a juggernaut in that ballpark. Nobody goes in there and wins. If they can beat Florida 2 out of 3, sweep them, then Florida's gone. And you start to pick these teams off, and all of a sudden you start to look a whole lot better. And then Vanderbilt has a tough weekend. They're playing Kentucky in Lexington. If you can get a sweep there, that really hurts where Vanderbilt sits. They got swept last weekend. That'd be 6 straight conference games Vanderbilt will have lost. And all of a sudden, you look a little bit better compared to then. Because keep in mind, you lost the tiebreaker to Florida. You lost the tiebreaker to Vanderbilt. But if you start to get some of those dominoes to fall into place, you start to look a lot better to the selection committee. You go from the worst of those to potentially the best, and you're in. Teams get sweeps. We've seen it from teams that aren't that great. Georgia swept Alabama. Missouri swept Florida. Last year, LSU was the only team in the league that didn't get swept. Everybody got swept. Arkansas got swept. Florida got swept. Tennessee got swept. These are teams that were conference champs or in Omaha. Baseball is a funny game, but to sweep, you have to play really well for 3 days. And for LSU to sweep, I think there's only one real path. And I think that path involves you absolutely hammering your opponent in one of the games. If LSU is going to sweep this weekend, one of these 3 games is going to need to be 14-4. You did that at Missouri. Jump was really good. He gave you 7 innings. You bludgeoned him. You win at 11-1. And all of a sudden, now your bullpen, you can get through 2 games with your bullpen. I don't think they can get through 3. It doesn't feel that way. And you saw that in Tuscaloosa. One of these games, they're going to have to get the bats out and go to work and make Mike Bianco throw in the towel and allow LSU to throw in the towel with the lead. Because Ole Miss can lose 1. Ole Miss only needs 2 this weekend. 2, they get 2, their RPI, their metrics, they're in. They can throw in the towel. Make them throw in the towel at some point in the 5th or 6th inning. Get up 9-1. Because I promise you, if you get up 9-1 at some point on Ole Miss, Mike Bianco is going to realize the situation, and he's going to send some freshman in there to throw up gopher balls. That he has to. He can't afford, in a limited bullpen, to go out there and use his top-of-the-line guys in a loss. Certainly not a loss that they can come back from. So that's the only path I see for LSU this weekend. If you're going to sweep them, one of the games needs to be a bludgeoning. And this Ole Miss pitching staff can certainly accommodate that. LSU's played pretty good the last 4 weeks. I know they lost 2 out of 3 last weekend to Alabama, but it was really close. I can change 2 plays by a foot each, and we have a whole different conversation on our hands. Milazzo's throws a foot to the left, and Milam's swing is a foot higher, and we've got potentially a sweep on the road for LSU. Now that's baseball, and that's ifs, and it's fantasy land, and it doesn't apply because they lost. But they haven't gotten that one where they stole one. They've only had 2 stolen from them. 9th inning homers, crazy rallies on an error. Talking about Florida and Alabama. Maybe some good luck, some good breaks show up this weekend. If not, we don't have much to talk about next week. And we certainly don't have much to talk about all of June, which I am kind of dreading. But all you got to do tonight is win 1 game. And I think Jay will learn from last week. I think he will. I don't think he will play with fire like he did last week. Last week in game 1, you got a 2-run lead. And then you were going to bring Herring in, but you extended it to 4 in the 8th. And he tried to extend Little. I don't think he makes that decision. I'm not going to call it a mistake. I don't think he makes that decision this time around. If you're LSU and you have not lost a game yet this weekend, you have to do everything you can to win. If they have to win today's game by using Griffin Herron, Nate Ackenhausen, and Christian Little, you do it. You do it. You have to do everything you can to win today. I don't manage anything for tomorrow. I'm probably not going to get Luke Holman up. Okay? But other than that, you do whatever it takes today to get a win. Ole Miss is not quite in that situation. See if you can get a lead, put some pressure on them, put a game away. That'd be really, really nice. For those that are just getting in the car or missed this earlier, LSU and Ole Miss will start their series coming up in an hour and 20 minutes from right now at Alex Box Stadium. Move things up, trying to beat the weather. I haven't looked at the radar and certainly don't know what's going on outside, but hopefully they can get this one in today, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow and on Saturday. The news that I gave you a little bit earlier in the first hour is if they have trouble tomorrow and can't get a game in, Sunday they're allowed to play. Previously in SEC, you weren't allowed to play that Sunday. Everybody had to go home. That is not the case anymore. Ole Miss is on a bus, so they just have to get their hotel stay just extended there and figure that out. I don't know who's in charge of that, but that's got to happen. And then they can play on Sunday if they need to, and that weather looks really, really good. I have a tea time on Sunday. I prefer they don't play on Sunday, but we'll see how things go. So LSU and Ole Miss coming up at 4 o'clock today. We come back. First of all, our baseball breakdown is brought to you by Pluckers all season long. When we come back, we'll break this show down with some Take It or Leave It, and we'll get on down the road. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When things heat up, you don't just want a cold one. You want the coldest one. The cold lagered, cold filtered, cold packaged one. Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Charles Hennigrove joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. Bruce Marshall will be with us along with Troy Macker from Bet Rivers, and legendary coach Skip Bertman joins the show. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the mic icon to send us your thoughts in audio form. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench, the Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review. Speak up, tell us your location, and be heard. Find our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. For direct links, visit 1045ESPN.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show by Rouse's Supermarkets.
I got to tell you, Beck, I'm real sad that John Rahm, who defected from the PGA Tour to the fake tour, where all the clip art uniforms and shorts and play music, because it's really cool, awesome tour. 4 over and just pulled it into the rough on some hole, and he's going to make another bogey probably. My heart's broken. I'm devastated.
For some reason, it doesn't seem like that's very genuine.
I don't know how I can get through the last segment with John. It's just very difficult that he's 4 over. And looks like an absolute dog out there that he plays on a fake golf tour.
Okay, but I was thinking about that because I was texting my buddies about it too. It's just like he was not very good at the Masters, and he's playing horrible today.
Yep.
But you can't just say, oh, it's because he went to live, because look at Koepka. I mean, I understand. Yeah,
there's something to it.
There's
I can say that about Dustin Johnson.
Yeah. He doesn't care anymore.
Right.
Koepka and Rahm both still care a lot. They're both competitors, and they want to win. So. So I wonder what
the difference
what it is.
But that Brooks
he's different.
He's such an alpha and a jerk that like he's able to just psych himself up and do it. Rahm knows he's playing on a ridiculous circus of a fake golf tour.
Yeah.
He's well aware of that, and he doesn't like it. He thought he was going to break and create the agreement because he'd be the big defector, and now he's not. And he goes up there and he's like, I still like the PGA Tour. I want to play on the PGA Tour. Well, you could have played on the PGA Tour, but you decided that you were more important than you were, and you thought things that weren't true. And now you just have to deal with the fact that you're not coming to the PGA Tour anytime soon. You're not playing Riviera. You're not playing Waste Management. You're not playing Pebble. You're not playing all these tournaments that you like, that you've said you're like. You're going to Dubai to play with all the music. Like that. You're going to Adelaide and flying. Like that's what you're doing. And now I don't think he's as committed as he once was. His swing's atrocious. He's wearing the stupid clothes. The whole thing is ridiculous. I hate it.
We know.
Should we play Take It or Leave It?
Yeah, let's do that. All right, first one here. Former Tiger Michael Brockers officially retired today. He earned just under $70 million in his illustrious 12-year NFL career. Brockers was the best pro from the 2011 Tigers. Take it or leave it.
I might take that. I mean, some of the names that would come up, I'll take it. I mean, it's Tyron, Odell. I mean, he was better than Morris Claiborne, Eric Reed. Better than Kevin Minner, I think.
Eric Reed was weird because he was one of the best safeties in the league for a few years, but for some reason, I mean, they had all this stuff with the national anthem and everything, but it was surprising that he couldn't hang on and keep playing longer than he did.
Yeah, Brockers, I mean, look, the guy that LSU only got 2 years out of, they redshirted. 3 years. They got 2 years of playing out of them. They redshirted him, and then he left after his redshirt sophomore year. That was probably the right decision, $70 million later.
Seems like it. All right, moving on. Dabo Sweeney says most of the players in the transfer portal aren't good enough to play for us. That's just the reality of it. He also recently said that a lot of his players are transfers from high school. Dabo Sweeney, take it or leave it.
You know what? If I'm going to go by the literal definition of that, then I'll take it.
Yeah.
Most of the players in the transfer portal are not good enough to play at Clemson.
That's true.
That's correct. However, not taking any transfers ever is a great way to get fired. It's a great way to get fired.
It is.
So I think everyone realizes it. I think that you don't have to be Lane Kiffin, but if you're not going to go out there and try to add a corner and a running back and 2 offensive linemen,
wherever you need something,
yeah, you're going to miss the boat here. And to continue to be defiant and to make ridiculous quotes like all our players transferred from high school and most of the players can't, like, that doesn't make you look any better.
No, it doesn't.
I guess the proper way, if I was saying, well, what should he say? Say, well, we certainly evaluate the transfer portal and certainly look at what players are in there and out there, and we always make the best decision for Clemson football, and we feel like we've done that. I would think he's wrong, but just trying to be defiant about the entire process is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's just data at this point. He doesn't seem to really care what people think of what he says, but we'll see if he cares the next few years if the record starts to
By the way,
down.
they went 4-4 in the ACC last year, so I think there are some players in the transfer portal plenty good to play for you.
Probably so. Moving on, the company Waymo has launched a fleet of autonomous self-driving vehicles to be used in ride-hailing or ride-sharing services. There is a human in the car as backup, but self-driving public transit, take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it right now. I mean, look, there are some things that I think that machines can do. I've seen the ones that can parallel park and do all that kind of stuff, and I'm all for it. We're going to start, like, dealing with taxi drivers in New York City that are out of control, going nuts, and I got some AI trying to although humans are very, very fallible behind the wheel, that's clear. I'd like a human driving the car. I think that's my best choice.
I tend to agree with you. However, if you're just doing it in like a short city area where it's just downtown, not that long of a drive,
too many people don't know how to drive and don't know how to cross the street. And if we're talking about cars that are doing things themselves, I realize you say there's a human in there for backup. Just let them drive the car.
That is kind of true, though. It seems kind of to defeat the purpose of it being self-driving if there's a person in there. But, all right, moving on, the New York Giants unveiled new throwback uniforms to commemorate their 100th season as a franchise. Uniform czar, take it or leave it.
Atrocious. Absolutely awful. Terrible look. They look like the jerseys look like marathon runners. Like it looks like one of those. It's so bad. I can't.
All right.
Someone needs to get me involved in these meetings where people come up with these jerseys.
Yeah, we've talked about it plenty. It doesn't really. It seems for some reason people aren't understanding the acumen of your ability to.
I'm the czar. I got it figured out.
Yeah.
Just don't go out of my jurisdiction. It's awful. Just terrible uniforms.
All right, next one here. Former Los Angeles Angels infielder David Fletcher, who had a 26-game hitting streak in just 3 years ago in 2021, is now with the Braves organization. He came in to pitch for the Gwinnett Stripers yesterday, struck out the side, throwing knuckleballs. Fletcher also pitched scoreless inning of relief last week. Fletcher has found a new position, knuckleball relief pitcher. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to go ahead and leave that. And I realize that we've got to complete these games in the big leagues. So we've got to have guys come in there and throw knuckleballs from left field or whatever. In the minors, if we've got a game that's out of hand, like, who's getting any better putting a guy out there to throw knuckleballs? Like, isn't the minor leagues for development?
You're right. However, it was a doubleheader, so they had gone through
just
almost all their.
Just cancel the game. It's over. This team wins, you lose. We're coming off the field. That's it. Like, no one's improving when this guy's coming out there throwing knuckleballs.
Well, he's improving, honey. It seems that he's developing ability to throw knuckleballs, and he's going to become a relief pitcher.
Oh, God.
All right, last one here. The Washington Commanders will play at Cincinnati on Monday Night Football in Week 3. The LSU Heisman guys, Joe versus Jaden. Take it or leave it.
Got to take it. I missed this yesterday because the schedules were leaking out as we were on air, and I didn't know what was going on. But having that in Week 3, Monday Night Football, that is sweet. I will be locked in. It's weird because my head tells me that I'm pulling for the Bengals, but I haven't seen Jaden play for the Commanders.
Yeah, what are you
going to
do, hon? You're gonna become a Commanders fanboy for Jaden. You're already a fanboy for the Bengals for Joe. So what are you going to do?
Next year for the draft party, I'm going to have to wear a Bengals shirt and a Commanders hat. And so that Matt will get mad at me twice at the draft show. I think that's where things are headed.
That's the way to go. Yeah,
I think that's what's going to happen. So go Commanders! Hail to the Commanders! I believe is theirs, and hooday, baby! A big time fan, long time fan of the Commanders and the Washington football team and all that entails. There's Matt. He's mad again. He's gonna do after further review coming up next. Missed any of our show today? Catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube. LSU and Ole Miss supposedly going off in an hour and 5 minutes. We'll be reacting to it on tomorrow's show. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR. Have a great and safe Thursday. Stay out of that weather. We'll see you tomorrow. 1-3. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.